And just to say that he is the he's on the adjunct faculty for Unity Worldwide Spiritual Institute at Unity Village at Lee's Summit, Missouri, right across from Kansas. He is an international speaker, workshop leader, teacher, and metaphysical coach. He's who we all go to when we need metaphysical help. He officiates weddings and memorial services. He's a co-host to Metaphysical Romp 2 with Reverends Dr. Cher and Bill Holton. It's a weekly internet radio program, so you might want to check that out along the way. You just go to his website, just check out Paul Hasselbeck and you'll find him. So welcome, Reverend Dr. Paul Hasselbeck. I'm going to let you put up your slides.
Okay. Good morning, everyone.
I'm just going to start the actual recording too.
This meeting is being recorded.
Okay, let's see if we get this thing going. So you should be able to see my slide. Are you? Actually, there's something wrong here.
Do we see the little phone?
Do you see the little phone?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm not seeing what I'm supposed to see over here. So let me just click one or two more buttons. Slideshow, resume slideshow. Well, I'm going to close this out. All right, so you're seeing my, wow, I have something seriously wrong here. I'm going to stop share and start this over again. And I do this so much, and you would think I would get it right. But you know what? Sometimes you just don't. Okay, there we go. Now you should be seeing the
No.
are you seeing the slide with just my cell phone?
No, it's just white.
And your little cell phone in the bottom right, and then a big white screen.
Good. That's exactly what I want. Okay.
Trying to
So
check.
I want you to take out your cell phone. And of course, we don't want it making noise, but I want you to have it out so you can take pictures of my slides if you like, and then you can share them with people on your social media. And I'd like you to sit back and relax. Well, this is crazy. Let's try it this way. Well, folks, I have lost all function. Let me try this again.
Okay.
Well, I'm sorry, folks. My computer has frozen up.
Oh dear. Well, feel free to talk without your slides if you need to.
Okay.
Well, if you're able to, you could email it to me and I could.
Well, the thing is I am so frozen up that I cannot even close my PowerPoint.
Oh, yeah, it's been there.
Okay.
But we still see you.
Okay. Well, if you still see me and I can see you, well, then I'm going to just simply ask you to sit back and relax. And this might come across as a presentation feeding you with a fire hose, but the important thing about this is to not try to hang on to any fact. This is to give you an overview of what it means when I say becoming exceptional. And what I mean by becoming exceptional does not mean that you're going to be exceptional in my eyes or any other person's eyes, that you are exceptional in your own evaluation. And that from where you are right now, you can see where you've come from and you can see where you're going or where you want to be. Because if you're like me, I can notice when I'm not showing up quite the way I want to. And when I'm not showing up quite the way I want to review that. And I want to see what's getting in my way. Not something out there, but something in here. And in fact, you could apply this concept to what you're doing with peace this year. And so where I first want to start is with something that's called cognitive dissonance. That's when we have one belief in conflict with another belief. And that's kind of a simplified explanation. But let's just try a couple things. When I say God, what do you think of? What do you picture? Because when I say God, I mean the principle which contains all principles. And so when I speak of God that way, it's going to be coming into conflict with what you believe God is, the preconceptions you have about God. Let's try one more. If I talk about Christ using that terminology, what do you think? What do you imagine? What do you see in your mind's eye? Well, when I say Christ, I mean the idea that contains all ideas. So why is this important? Well, when we already have a pretty fixed belief, it gets in the way of anything new that's coming in. So one of the tricks I use for myself when I notice this is then every time I saw the word God in the writings of Charles Fillmore and Myrtle, I would substitute the word principle. And that would get me closer to what Charles was meaning or what Myrtle was meaning. And if I saw the word Christ or even Son of God, I would put in the word idea or the idea. But even that kind of gets in conflict with each other because this idea that contains all ideas is the same as the principle, which includes all principles. So I'm sharing this with you because this is the kind of things that get in the way of us really understanding what Myrtle and Charles were trying to say. And then ultimately, that gets in the way of us becoming exceptional. And again, exceptional is how you're perceiving it, not something I'm putting on you. And so just recently, I began thinking about these terms and I began thinking about, well, how do we escape this situation? And then I remember someone telling me about deconstruction. They were deconstructing something. And then that clicked me over to how in men's blazers, they began deconstructing them to make them more casual. So what does that mean in a blazer? That meant they were taking out all of the unnecessary things or the things that were in the blazer that weren't really necessary for the blazer to be a blazer. And so I've been thinking in the last months, well, how could we deconstruct unity teachings in a way so that they're more understandable and clearer? And if they're clearer and understandable, they're easier to apply. They're easier to deploy in our lives. And so when we start to deconstruct the unity teachings, we get to kind of the simplest form that is possibly the easiest to understand. And when we're becoming understandable, we've got to remember some of the tools that you've probably already learned and are already in your tool belt, but maybe you're not using them because there was so much stuff around them in language that they were difficult to deploy, difficult to use. In fact, one of the ways that we get in our own way when we talk about these principles, as if we talk about them like they're causing something in us, that they're using us, when in fact, these principles are something you and I use every day, whether we're aware of them or not. And so in becoming exceptional, we want to be thinking about the principles and the law. And the principles in this case are what have been called the 12 powers. But the 12 powers are nothing more than 12 principles. So deconstruction for me would be to get rid of the word power and put in the word principle. So we have these 12 powers within us. We didn't inherit them. God did not give them to us because God is simply the principle that is already us at the core of each of us, at the core of our beingness. So let's give it a try. So take a deep breath. And do you notice you have the ability to believe? Do you notice you have the ability to persevere? Do you notice you have the ability to compare and contrast? Do you notice you have the ability to desire and to harmonize? Do you notice you have the ability to be the master of your life? Do you notice you have the ability to visualize? Do you notice you have the ability to understand? Do you notice you have the ability to choose? Do you notice you have the ability to adjust and to organize? Do you notice you have the ability to be passionate? Do you notice you have the ability to release and let go? Do you notice you have the ability to energize and vitalize? Well, if you're like most groups I talk to, you said yes to every one of those. And those names, those words I shared with you are each related to the 12 powers, not using necessarily the name that Charles Fillmore gave them. I gave you a name that really is more related to how we use them, how we use them every day, whether we're aware of it or not. And so in becoming exceptional, we use these 12 powers to work with beliefs that get in our way. See, we have in our consciousness, we have thoughts, ideas, beliefs, images, feelings, emotions, experiences. We have all of those in the awareness of our consciousness. And the thing that gets in the way the most is the beliefs that hinder us. The beliefs we maybe formulated when we were younger, but now we realize they're no longer useful. And so we can use these 12 powers to adjust our beliefs. And so we don't use these powers, these principles alone. We have to use a law with them, a spiritual law, a law of consciousness. And this law of consciousness tells us how our mind or consciousness works, and therefore we can use them consciously. So the law of mind action, the simple form is thoughts held in the mind produce after their kind. Well, that's not quite as useful as knowing that thoughts held in my mind with feelings produce more similar and like thoughts in my mind with feelings. So this law of mind action is what we use to take on a belief and to solidify it within us. And we also can use that law of mind action to undo a belief, to disempower a belief, to de-energize a belief. And so in becoming exceptional, we have to know what these 12 principles are and how to use the law of mind action with them to change a belief. So take that in for a moment. So as we're going through our everyday lives, we've got to use our consciousness effectively. And what is our consciousness? It's self-awareness plus arousal plus motivation. And so in order to change, we have to use our consciousness, our self-awareness, to become aware of any belief that's getting in the way. And once we can identify a belief that's gotten in the way, we can use the 12 principles and the law of mind action to disempower, to release the belief we don't want, while we're installing a new belief to take its place. So think about this. Charles and Myrtle Fillmore went to a lecture by E.B. Weeks. You've all heard this before, where Myrtle heard, "I am a child of God, and therefore I do not inherit illness." So why is this important? Well, it's a perfect example of how Myrtle Fillmore got aware of a belief, the belief that she inherited sickness, and heard the affirmation that she could use to disempower that old belief. That is something that she was told her whole life. And so she believed she was sickly. And she had to release that belief and take on the belief, "I am a child of God," in order for her to be released from the sickness she was experiencing in her body. You see, The principles are simply there for you to use and I to use. And it was also true of Myrtle. And she used these principles, whether she knew they existed or not, via the law of mind action to install a new belief, I am a child of God, and to release an old belief, I inherit sickness. So fast forward to 2024, I would never say I'm a child of God, because that was the old belief system. If I was holding that belief, I would want to change it to something like, I am fully divine. I am principle. I am the principle which contains all principles. And I am the law of mind action, and so much more. Because we are growing and changing. And so we have to identify those beliefs that are getting in the way of us becoming more and more exceptional. So as you go about your days, think about this. Principle is everywhere present at every point in space, all at the same time. So human beings have something like 32 trillion cells in our bodies. That means there's at least 32 versions of principle. That the entirety of principle that contains all principles is present fully in every one of our cells. And our cells are using these principles. And they are doing it because they are divine. So think about that you are every principle there is. You. And Charles Fillmore said, we can discern what those principles are. And we can use every one of them to be a better version of ourselves. Now, the truth is, you don't need to know all the details, but the truth also is, it's easier if you know those 12 principles. And there's more. I've written a book on it. It's called Use the Truth You Know, the Principles and Premises of Unity. So the more of them that you know specifically, the more you know of the laws, the easier it'll be for you to change your mind. And we know when we change our minds, when we change our consciousness, we change our daily experience of life. And when we change our daily experience of life, we are able to change our outer world. You have within you everything you need to change yourself and to impact the world around you. This is why you're holding the principle of peace for this year. Because the saying is true, peace begins with you. Peace is a principle within you. It's up to you to use it. The more you use it, the more peaceful you'll become. And then you will more effectively influence the world around you. And that's what becoming exceptional is all about. Know that you start out exceptional in your own way, and you're in this process of becoming more exceptional. And that exceptional is determined by you, not determined by some outer force. So as you go forth today, know that you are amazingly exceptional. And so it is.
Thank you, Dr. Paul. Would you like to guide us in meditation or shall I?
Now, I can do it.
Okay.
All right. So I invite you to take a deep breath. And we take that as a way to center ourselves. And we take that deep breath as a way to become more and more aware of our innate divinity. And as we become aware of that innate divinity, and we're breathing in and we're breathing out, we're releasing anything that gets in the way of our awareness that we are 100% divine. And we're also 100% human. We're fully divine and fully human. As we live our lives, we're here to live our lives fully. And what that means is I'm using my divinity to express and create my humanity really in any way I like. And so are you. You are the one that is the master of your own consciousness. No one, no person, no thing can change your mind. Only you can do that. There's an old saying that says, a mind changed against its will is of the same opinion still. So in Unity, we're talking about a way of life where each of us is radically responsible for our own consciousness. And each of us have the possibility, the ability to influence other people's consciousness. But while you and I can change our own mind, we can only influence another person's mind. So think and feel how powerful you really are. Right where you are right now, you have every principle and every law at your fingertips as a way to express your life. So in our divinity, we're identical. In our humanity, we are wondrously distinct. And this is the diversity we celebrate in each other. And it's in our divinity, the oneness exists. And so as you go about your day, simply be the best you can be, knowing you are fully divine and fully human. And so it is. Amen.
The recording has stopped.